Her hair, cut shorter this summer so she could be in and out of the lake at the Lutheran camp, bounced, releasing a scent of shampoo. The bony, smooth roundness of her shoulders gave him the shock of her nakedness. He hid his face in the side of her neck, saying, "Oh, God, I can't stand this." Her cheek tense, smiling. "Now you, Owen," she breathed into his ear. "Your shirt." Quickly, not wanting to let go of her for a second, he pulled it off, wishing he had bathed more carefully, for the smell of his armpits joined that of her shampoo, and her skin in the close air of the car. He could see more and more, as if the light were leaking into the patches of sky between the trees, shedding glimmers into the woods, where faint noises were revering and becoming less faint. He kissed her breast, trying to be delicate, trying not to bite as the nipples grew hard, while she pressed into his ear a voice that seemed made up, enlarged and rehearsed like something in the movies. "Owen, I used to take off my clothes in my room and walk around looking at myself in the mirror, wishing you could see me." "You're beautiful, amazing," he told her, meaning it, but as if her voice had swabbed out his ears, he now heard other things, whispers and stirrings around them, on the other side of the glass and metal. From somewhere not too distant there was a hoot, an owl, or possibly a signal from a murderous, demented gang that lived here in caves and came out at night. Oh no, I've lost my place. There it is. Suppose the car doesn't start, he thought again. It often didn't in rainstorms or on cold mornings, his father frantic, flooding the engine in his panic. So the wearying starter turned it over and over. "Cougar, cougar." "Did you hear something?" Owen asked Elsie. She had left her loafers on the gritty floor of the car and had risen up bare now, even to her feet, to kneel at the side of the seat beside him, stroking his face as he tongued her breasts. Even in his state of growing terror, he marveled, holding her tight, at the give of a girl's waist, at the semi-liquid space between the ribs, and then behind the downy hard plate, at the base of the spine and the glassy globes of the buttocks, smooth into the cleavage, all of it unified like the slivery body of a fish. All so simple and true, the simple truth of her, alive in his arms. He heard the distant hoot again. Something rustled near the car tires. She felt his mouth losing interest in her nipple and began to listen with him. Behind the skin between her breasts, her heart was beating. "I don't think so, Elsie." Her breath losing its movie screen largeness, and becoming small with a childish quiver. For reassurance, she added, "He says nobody ever comes here except in hunting season." But she, too, must have been seeing the cans and the wrappers in the headlights, evidence of others. He, her father, the owner, all around them, hating Owen, what he was doing to his daughter, striving in every twig and trunk to eject the two of them. They listened and heard a noise too faint it could have just been saliva rattling in their own breath. Owen's hands began to move again, gathering her tender but nakedness closer to him, his fingertips finding a touch of the fuzz in the cleavage behind. He wondered how to get his head down to kiss that soft shadow that he had glimpsed. It had seemed shyer, gauzier than what he had seen in dirty photographs and drawings. The few he had seen. His prick was aching behind his fly, and her hand had dropped and, the first time ever, began fumbling at his belt buckle to release it, its imperious pressure, its closeted, sour smell. But he had spooked her. He had spooked them both, and the desire that dominated him, bare-chested though he was the desire to escape, to see if the car could start and if he could back it up down that narrow road without hitting a tree or a deep hole. Her father's land, and her nakedness in it like a shout. Owen was vulnerable, criminal even, trespassing, and she was a minor. He must restore her intact to society. The rustling he had imagined near the tires became a sudden thrashing, a distinct lunge of the unknown. "Elsie," he whispered. "What?" perhaps expecting some avowal, some earthly plea. "Let's get out of here." She hesitated. He heard her heartbeat, her breath whistle. It's up to you," she decided in the mannerly voice that she had used with his mother. Then, catching his mood, she whispered, "Yes, let's." Often afterwards he would remember the details of this hour, her shorts and underpants in one sweep, her gleaming eye whites, his sense of her slithering into space above his head like a silken kite, like an angel crammed into an upper corner of a Sienese nativity, and regret his lack of boldness that would have let him linger with her gift of herself, and taste it, and let her continue undoing his pants. But his nerves had poisoned their privacy. Naked or not, she was a person, and now a frightened one. His retreat was cowardly, but he felt brave and cool, successfully managing the maneuver. He started the engine, thank God it started, drowning out all those other sounds, and backed down the overgrown road by the wan glow of the backup lights while branches scraped metal and Elsie scrambled into her clothes. He would have backed up right over the paved road, not bothering to roll back the boulder, but she said in a voice whose calmness sounded stern, "Owen, we should put it back the way we found it." Her father's precious land. That had found her show, he realized. He got out angrily in the glare of his own headlights, heaved the rock back into place for the next trespassers. Sorry, he said when the Chevy was safely running down the highway to Breachtown, where she lived. "I chickened out," Elsie said after lighting a cigarette. "You're more sightified than I am. Woods don't frighten me. My father and uncle hunt in the fall. There are no bears or anything. Not even bobcats anymore. I felt safe." "You should have told me that while we were in there." "I tried to distract you to keep you interested." "You did. You were stunning. I loved it. You." She was silent, putting his jerky speech together. He told her, "It's just as well. We might have fucked." Not a word they used with others or between themselves. It was a kind of offering, but she held her silence. It occurred to him, his face heating in a blush, that he hadn't been prepared, even physically, with one of those rubber things he had seen years ago up by the abandoned Dairy Queen. She at last spoke. "I wouldn't have let you, Owen. I intend to be a virgin for my husband. It was just like I said. I wanted you to know me, to see me as I see myself." "You were beautiful, are beautiful, Elsie." Was she crying? "Thank you, Owen," she brought out. "You're a nice person." Too nice, was the implication. Still, he couldn't blame himself. Her body like that, of a slithering, cool, flexible fish in his arms, had been a revelation, but it had been a revelation enough for one night. They must have driven around that night, burning up gas, letting their heartbeats slow down, trying to talk into place what they had learned about each other and their own lives before he drove her home to Breachtown. His house was a quarter-mile away, up a long, crunching driveway, an old farmhouse like Owen's own family, but fussily improved. A new addition held a 2-car garage below and a family room above, with a TV and built-in loudspeakers, and furniture that all matched. The addition was covered in aluminum siding. The original house was built not of sandstone, but of limestone, because, oh my God, so much description that is just really lengthy and unnecessary. But I know some people really like hyper-descriptive, superfluous little wording. Not me. I'm more of a get-to-the-point kind of girl. So I'm just going to take a look at this and see if there's anything else interesting. Okay, this sounds funny. A New England daintiness and wit leavened what in Pennsylvania in the million brothels and dives had a sullen, sooty heaviness, slightly rancid. Up here, where Puritans had left their traces in the white steeples and prim brick architecture, sex was tricked up, if not altogether banned. Boston's highly evolved civic morality prescribed certain limits on costume. Pasties on the nipples, G-strings on the pubis, high heels on the feet, tiaras on the head, bright paint on the face, all mitigated the simple glimmering nudity that Elsie in her innocence had offered him one night. Nudity, New England seemed to say, was too serious, too vulnerable, too commodify. Only goddesses in marble or Mother Eve in crabbed engravings could flaunt it above ground. Underground there were stag films and frat houses, projected to uneasy hooting starring actors and actresses whose sagging, pouchy, wistful, and impotent humanity roused scorn in the viewers, young and inexperienced as they were. In his sophomore year, after a summer of surveying crew and a few unsatisfactory dates with Elsie, who was more guarded and sparing of herself now that she was a Penn State freshman, Owen returned to his daydreams of Phyllis without her ever having spoken a word. But she turned up in a class that he too was taking, Introduction to Digital Computing and Code. Interesting story.